When dating apps doesn't work, just drop your number on some luxury cars in Dubai Mall.
She picked it up every time. What do you mean, the paper? Zero calls, too cheap.
Want guys? What do you want guys for? Forget about it. Live by yourself. You take care of yourself. You clean up after yourself.
Hey guys, what's up? Is there any guys out there that like big women? Because I'm not very skinny. I'm gonna work on it for my health. But for right now, it's quite difficult to lose. And that would be great if I can find somebody who would love me for me. And who doesn't hide anything and who's honest, loving, caring.
Does she mean when she says somebody who loves me, like somebody that loves people who are big, who are fat? That's what she means, right?
Yeah, and who's Christian. And my ideal man would probably have blue eyes, because I got blue eyes, but not just because I love Paul Walker. He was like my favorite actor. I love Paul Walker. He's amazing. And yeah, so there's got to be somebody out there. Somewhere in Canada. Okay, guys, I see you later.
That's a problem because she's asking for so much, and she wants somebody to love her for who she is. Like, she's fat. She wants somebody to love her for who she is. Even if she gains more weight, somebody should be able to say it's okay. But she wants somebody that looks like Paul Walker. What do you think, guys?
The key to Hinge is to go with the guy who might be ugly. You look at his profile, you think 50-50. Don't know if he'll be cute or not. Go for it. That is the one, because other girls not giving him a chance. It's your time. It's your time to go. When has the perfect smoke show, amazing profile guy ever been a great date? No, he ghosted you after you matched, right? Yeah, there's a reason he is still on Hinge if his profile is that amazing. Go for the guy. They're usually hot in real life. Just go for someone with an ugly profile, I promise. I've been on 5 amazing Hinge dates in a row. You're welcome.
It's just something that the world does to these women, and you can never understand it. But like, to some extent, it makes them think harder enough to see how best they can navigate. Because I mean, it has never been defeated before.
Older men just do it better. When I say older men, I'm talking so I turned 30 this year. I'm talking 39 and up. So not old by any means, definitely not old, but older than me. The attention to detail, the thoroughness, exactly what they want. And they're going to tell you what that is. I'm on the verge of deleting Hinge, but before I deleted it, I wanted to change my age preferences to just see. I tell y'all, there is not a one-word prompt answer in sight. They're typing paragraphs. You got bullet points. You're getting voice messages. You're getting video answers. There is not a how to get to know me. Just ask in sight. And let me tell you, that's refreshing. So my theory is that for most of the older men, I'm not talking for all of them, I'm saying most of them, they have lived enough life and had some experiences to know what they want and what they don't want. And they're not on the dating apps to waste time. Now, of course, there's always going to be some anomalies. I'm sure there's going to be some people who are going to disagree with that. But that's what I found. And let's talk about the accountability. I was chatting with somebody on there. We'll call him Steve. And Steve had listed on his profile that he did not have children. And in our conversations, he mentioned a 12-year-old daughter. And so I said, hey, just curious, why don't you put that on your profile? And Steve said, oh, you're right. I should have that on there. One sec, let me go change it. I'm so sorry. I mean, the accountability, the transparency, a man my age could never. A man my age would never. No, I can't testify to how these men are in person because I still got overwhelmed and will likely be deleting the app. However, if you're tired of minimal effort on the actual profiles themselves and in the conversation from the men that you're seeking on dating apps right now, maybe look at your preferences. Maybe up the age, you know?
Okay.
It's worth a shot.
Hit the wall, and men of our age don't want to. The wall.
Question: when guys ask girls on dates, do they do this? Lunch? Because that's, if I was a guy, that's what I would do. Or because when I see that and I'm like, lunch? And I'm like, yeah. What time? Or like, because that's how I respond. I'm like, or I'll throw my phone across the room and jump around.
Guys, that's just a plot to get some man somewhere to respond to her so that she can start chatting with that man. I mean, you can see it even from afar that she's just betting men out there to respond to her.
Why don't sperm donors have to pay child support? Back in 2018, I was artificially inseminated because I'm a lesbian and I wanted kids, right? So me and my girlfriend decided that we were going to go find a donor and have a kid that way. I had my baby in February of 2019, and after that, my girlfriend and I stayed together for about 3 more years, and then we broke up. My girlfriend never signed the birth certificate of our child, and it was also illegal for same-sex couples to adopt a kid at the time, so she never became the parent of our child legally. And so when we broke up, she said that she had no legal obligation to this child and she didn't want to be the parent anymore. Of course, I was like, whatever, that's fine. Just give me, some child support. And she said, did you not hear me? I have no legal obligation to this child. I'm not going to pay child support. So, of course, I'm like, what the? Because I've never had a job. So how am I going to find one that is going to pay me enough to support my family? So now I'm trying to get the sperm donor to pay child support because biologically he is my daughter's parent.
He has no legal claim over the child. You want him to pay child support. Oh man, some of these things, like, you can laugh. And this is proof, guys, that most of the lesbian marriages don't last. 3 years and they were done.
So I want him to give me his half. Of course, they're refusing to give me his contact information, so I don't know what to do at this point. But I just think it's really messed up that somebody can just go donate sperm and then have nothing else to do with the kid that comes from it.
Guys, these are women that say they don't need no man, and then they marry their fellow women, and then in the end, after 3 years, it doesn't work out. Now they want the sperm donor because they couldn't have or she couldn't marry a man, or she couldn't have a child. Normally with a man like that, she had to go to a sperm bank to get, and now she wants that the donor to be paying child support.
Where are the men, and why are they not doing something or stepping in when they see young ladies being punched in the face or otherwise harassed? It's not just punched in the face, it's just all sorts of harassment that occurs on these streets. And the question was, where are the men, where are the protectors? And look no further than Daniel Penny, who will have to now stand trial for his willingness to stand up for others around him and the innocent around him and do his best to protect those around him. So I think it's quite clear in this city, if you are a decent person, you are a good Samaritan, you are somebody who wants to protect other people, especially the vulnerable, the innocent, the weaker, then you might actually be the one that is punished instead of the ones that are going out and victimizing people, because that is the upside down reality of living in New York City or in a blue state. Not so in a red state. In a red state, this would not occur. And I can also tell you this, the men in red states would not allow this to occur if they were in the presence of this. You would feel more of a sense of protection being in a place like that.
Right.
Here's my thoughts on how to end the New York City punching in the face of women. We need to make men afraid to go outside, afraid and always looking over their shoulder, just like we do. And how we do that, walk around with no warning. So they walk around like this. Hi, ma'am. Please don't tase me in the taint.
It's men.
Girls think that they want to date a high-value man until he starts calling you out for not taking responsibility, before he starts holding you accountable, before he has higher standards for you than you have for yourself. Everyone talks about, oh, date a high-value man. It's so, this is what you do to have to attract a high-value man. But I've never heard anyone talk about, like, actually dating a high-value man takes a totally different kind of woman. It is not for the weak. I have other friends who are dating like very loving, very successful, perfectionist, ambitious men, and it is not for the weak.
It honestly pains me to see women constantly explaining to men that they would rather be alone than to be in a relationship with them. They don't understand. They don't understand because the cognitive dissonance. They can't imagine because they can't do it. They can't be alone. Literally, they ruminate when they're alone. Their mind wanders all over the place. They hate their own company. A man cannot stand the thought of being alone. So he cannot believe you when you say you are happier alone. They can't do it. So they can't imagine that you can do it. They honestly...
For the record, I've never heard a man say we don't need women.
Believe that you're lying. Stop trying to convince them that you're happier alone. We know we are. Just be alone. I find it funny that every single time I'm talking to women about men and dating men in romantic spaces, a man jumps in and says, "That's not true. How do you know? You sleep with men? Do you date men? If you date men, just say that."
If you are really a feminine dominant woman, a lot of modern men can't take you. Like, a lot of modern men really can't take me like that because they don't really like feminine energy. They like masculine energy. When you see a woman being hypersexual...
I don't think she's feminine. There's nothing about her that's feminine. The way she speaks...
She's city girling, it's kitty cat, wet, wet. That's sacral energy. That's masculine energy. All in her ego, that's solar plexus energy. That's a masculine chakra. That's masculine energy. All about her money and her paper. That's root energy. That's masculine energy. When you're really a feminine and you really be sitting like a pretty princess, you really be in the house, you really be chilling, you really be waiting for a masculine to come and bring you yours, they hate that. Modern men hate that because they want to be the pretty princess. They want to be big daddy and the pretty princess. No, baby, when you're with me, you're big daddy. I'm pretty princess, period. I'm not coming off my... So when you're really feminine dominant, don't be surprised that a lot of these men can't really take you, baby. They can't.
This book took me from a feminist man hater to a feminist man lover instantaneously. And if I had known that it was going to do that, I doubt I ever would have picked it up in the first place because I felt so justified in my anger and hatred and rage toward men, which I realized through reading this book was actually anger, hatred, and rage toward the patriarchy and specific individual men who had wronged me.
Oh, so this woman, she hated men, and when she hit the wall, she felt like, oh, I need men. The bills are piling up. I need some child support from them. She tried now to understand men, how men operate. Good luck to you, but like, it's too late. I'm sorry.
The first and most jarring realization that I had reading this book was that I wasn't viewing men as people. Not the same way that men don't view women as people, because I think men are more prone to viewing women as objects, but I would view men as machines, or I would view them as, they fell into the category of either like predator, scary, like enemy, or provider of something. Like in some way you are going to perform male tasks for me, whether that's validation, whether that's money, whether that's physical protection. But I did not see them as human beings, as deep and emotional and capable in certain ways as I viewed myself and other women, which obviously fills me with shame and sadness to admit, but that's what we were working with. And I think that's what a lot of people are working with. And this book gave me a lot more compassion and love and understanding for men, but it also gave me the tools and awareness to hold men accountable and like expect more from them than I was. Like, my parents moved away last year, and I realized after a few months that my dad literally never called me. Like, I never heard directly from this man. I would only hear of him through my mom or something. And I in my brain, like, my initial response was like, well, what do I think he's gonna do? Call me and be like, I miss you, how are you doing? Because we never had that kind of relationship. And then I realized, like, yes, I can expect that from him. I can ask that of him. I can tell him that I want that from him, and then let him make his own decision about it. But what I realized was that he is not inherently less capable of loving me, missing me, and calling me than my mother was of loving me, missing me, and calling me. But it's
She has dad issues.
very common for people to have these really deep, emotionally entangled relationships with their mother, and then their dad is more of like a figurehead. And same thing with relationships of all kinds, very deep feminine friendships, and then their boyfriends are just kind of like there, and as long as they're performing their boyfriend tasks adequately, they get to stay. And I just think I was very disconnected from my desire to love men and be loved by the men in my life, which is insane because I am straight. So you would think that would be the one thing that I was actually in touch with. But number one, like, I think I only ever connected with wanting male validation from men, not like deep, intimate, real relationships with them. And there's such a conversation to be had around decentering men that is super duper valid. I'm not saying it's not valid, but everybody has men in their life that they want the love of: a dad, a brother, a friend, a neighbor, a boyfriend, a husband. And when I kind of had like a fire lit within me about feminism, I felt very like not ashamed of that, but I just was kind of like, no, I do not need men. I do not like men. Like, slowly morphed into like really genuinely hating men, seeing all men as just the living, breathing patriarchy. Each individual man was responsible for the whole patriarchy. Anyway, it got bad. And if you have a brother, a son, a dad, a husband, I absolutely beg you to read this book. If you are a man,
Your father was probably picking up on the hate. He saw, like, my daughter doesn't love me.
I beg you to read this book. And this book, to me, really is the bridge between these two very conflicting ideals, these two camps that I'm familiar with both of them. The conservative, traditional camp of like men masculinity, like we need strong men. And then this like, and honestly, like, I don't mean to generalize, but like a lot of branches of feminism are very, very, very man-hating. And what Bell Hooks does in this book is so amazing, because as I was reading this book, I was able to untangle individual men and the individual men in my life from the patriarchy and realize that yes, some men uphold the patriarchy, some women do too. And also there are different parts of us that uphold the patriarchy in different ways. This is my favorite quote from the book. In patriarchal culture, males are not allowed to simply be who they are and to glory in their unique identity. Their value is always determined by what they do. In anti-patriarchal culture, males do not have to prove their value and worth. They know from birth that simply being gives them value, the right to be cherished and loved. Which is an idea, the right to be cherished and loved without performing, is an idea that I applied to myself and other women, never to men. Never to men. So in this book, Bell Hooks talks about an anti-patriarchal society, which is not the same thing as a man-hating society, not by far. Anyway, that was a very important distinction for me, was being anti-patriarchal and not anti-men. And since then, I have been able to see how detrimental being anti-man is to our society, which makes me sound like it's very conservative, like, blah. It's not. And this is not to say that radical feminism and anger, righteous anger, does not have a place. But for me, it became so much more of a hindrance. It was not validating. It was not comforting anymore. It was not certainly helping in my relationships with men, which I'm married to a man. Like, it was really getting in the way.
Oh, you're actually even married. Congratulations. Despite you hated men, like, why did you marry one?
Anyway, The Will to Change, Bell Hooks. I recommend it with every part of my heart and soul.